everybody, this is VisitJoan and welcome to a Sims 4 Discovery University room build. Today I am building two rooms, both of which were actual dorm rooms that I lived in when I was in school. The first one was located in Douglas Hall, and I'm not going to reveal the name of the second one for reasons I'm not going to disclose. However, I can reveal the name of the first one simply because it no longer exists. Yeah, they tore it down to make room for a road extension, which was really kind of sad because, you know, this is the first place I ever really lived on my own, and I just have a ton of memories there and sentimental value, but at the same time, it was a bit of a dump and kind of needed to go. I actually lived in two different rooms over the year and a half that I lived at Douglas Hall, but I lived on two different sides, so I kind of kept them in the same room. The closet side represents the room I lived in my first semester, and the other side represents the room I lived in the following year. I did have a roommate both times. My first roommate was an international student from China, and she actually wasn't even there for the first 3 weeks of school. She didn't come back until after Chinese New Year. And she never really talked to me, which I was pretty much okay with, just because we could just do our own thing and not have to worry about, you know, annoying each other. But I pretty much ended up with that roommate just because that was really the only spot left on the floor, or it was one of the only spots left on the floor. I came in mid-year, so I had very little choice as to what room to pick. My second roommate, it was her freshman year, which was really just kind of interesting because that was the year I turned 22, and I had already been at that particular school for a semester already. She actually moved out partway into the second semester, and she didn't even tell me anything about it, so I just came back from rehearsing for Flirp special dinner, and all of her stuff was gone, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what the heck happened? But it turns out there really was, you know, just an empty room down the hall, so she took that. So I got the room to myself for the rest of the year, which was actually pretty nice. I don't have a picture of what the actual room looked like. However, I did find a tour on YouTube, so I will link that in the description below if you want to check that out. Now, you may notice during this video that I actually left in a lot of stuff I would normally cut out, and that's because simply so I would just have the time to talk about things, because, you know, a lot of the stuff I put in here for specific reasons, and I wanted to make sure I had enough time to tell you about them. So basically, what I am doing here in this video is my mom kind of created a little, basically shelf for me on top of the desk that was basically supported by like Lego bricks, and you'll see on the other side that what I do for the Lego bricks. But this particular shelf, I decided to use these like bookshelves because I actually did put my books on the one of the shelves actually. But anyway, I did have like a bunch of stuff on there, like what did I have? I had like pencils, school supplies, stuff like that. So I put those in there as well. I also put in a few things that I didn't actually have, but I would have liked to have had, but I don't own, if you know what I mean. So like you'll see them when they come around. But anyway, I had the top bunk in both rooms, which was nice because I actually prefer the top bunk. Even when I had the room to myself, I kind of just stayed on the top bunk because that's where I wanted to sleep. This is the room I was in when I joined KH13, which was actually a lifesaver when my mental health just went south that year. So between my growing friendship with Flaming Lee and the Japanese group playing through Pokemon White 2, this was, you know, really, it was a hard time for me, but it was really one of the best times when I was at the school. So, you know, Pokemon Black and White 2 just have a lot of sentimental value for me, just because they remind me of this period where I was just so happy, even though I was struggling with mental health, and I had to drop a class, and it was probably the hardest class I ever had to take, too. But even with all of that going on, you know, I still miss it. I still wish I could go back to the fall of 2012 and just relive that part of my life, because I was just so happy. I mean, the OCD going haywire, I really could live without, but you know, I was making friends, I had a place where I belonged, I had something to look forward to every day, and oh my goodness, it's just all the memories and stuff. It really just makes me feel nostalgic. And I know it feels weird saying that it's nostalgic thinking about something that happened this decade, but by the time you are watching this video, that will no longer be true. So here I am putting like one of these little hanging down beady things from City Living, and That's because I really would have liked to have had one, even though I don't own one. I still would like to own one, and I still would love to have one of those flip-flop lights. I just want something like that, you know? I've always liked that, but I've never actually gotten around to buying it. So I'm just adding some extra details that I wish I would have had. And the mirror actually was on the back of the door, but you can't do that in The Sims, so I just had to put it on the side. And oh my goodness, this closet was a pain to do, simply because I had to look above it just to see what I was doing and where I was going to put the actual clothing. And there was this one point where I had to put them on the same level by looking on top, which I can't do because my depth perception is terrible. I remember taking one of those tests at like a children's museum where it was like these two circles, and they're like, which one is closer, which one is farther, and I had absolutely no idea. I could never tell. They both looked exactly the same, and yes, I did put a calendar there. It was actually a guinea pig calendar, but for the purpose of the Sims room, I did put the one that looks like a husky because that was my school's mascot. And I added a game console, even though there was no TV in my room, because I actually did have, for the, at the end of the first semester I was there, I did have, well, not the end, but like, for like the second half, I did have a PS2 there, just so I could actually play Kingdom Hearts. Because, you know, I wanted to experience playing with it, and the PS2 was really only like $40, and then the game was like another 20. So, I did play through most of Kingdom Hearts 1 at Douglas Hall, and I played through the entirety of Days, well, almost the entirety, because I started it on spring break, but in the hall as well. And it was just like a routine, like I would get back from class, and I would pull up my 3DS, and I would play Days, and I also watched Let's Plays of the games here, too. So, you know, thank goodness for YouTube. I'm just gonna say that. But in Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2, you know, the three friends, they would get sea salt ice cream, and then they would go on top of a clock tower, watch the sunset, and eat the ice cream. And so I would always, you know, grab an ice cream bar from the cafeteria, because we could take one ice cream bar out, and I would take that back to my room, and then I would climb up on the top bunk and pretend it was kind of like sea salt ice cream. And it's just something I did because, you know, I didn't know anybody else there and I had nothing else to do. So it was just kind of like, I don't know. But I know another thing that happened in that game was that they got a day off and poor Roxas didn't know what to do with it. So, you know, one day my only class of the day was canceled. And so I'm like, oh, cool, day off. So I decided that I was going to draw my own Keyblade that day, because who wants to do studying when their classes are canceled? Like, not me. So I went to the bookstore and got some pencils, and I designed my own Keyblade. Now, the fan is here simply because this hall did not have air conditioning, so we, like, literally had to bring fans into the hall. It was really funny because my roommate brought a new fan, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely perfect. Anyway, I have a lot of debug items in this room just because, you know, I just had like a lot of, you know, just stuff, you know, to decorate my desk. I had Jaja crabs. I had a picture of my guinea pigs Amanda made for me and sent me the year before. So I had that in there, and I put Void Critter cards in there because I did actually bring my Pokemon cards to school one time so I could show my friend. I also put, you know, a bunch of the little kids' toys on the desk because that's pretty much what I use to decorate my desk. These little Jaja crabs and, you know, stuff like that I had. So I thought it would be appropriate if I decorated it with some of the toys that I really liked in the Sims 4. And I also have the yellow koala bear because that represents my stuffed Pikachu that I had with me at school. And it's actually this stuffed Pikachu that I had since, you know, Pokemania in the 90s. So I've had this thing for like 20 years now. But I did take it with me to school, and it was my little companion that would just sit on top of my bed. So, and I have no idea why I attempted to raise it with the 9 key when the red shelf was literally right there in front of my eyes. But for some reason, I just totally and completely just spaced on it. And, you know, I had to go back later and fix it so that it looked like it was actually sitting on the bed. But, I don't believe I got that on camera. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I should have done that with my little porta-pal as well. Now, I do put stuff on the walls. And actually, I didn't really have stuff on, like, the white walls. It was all on the corkboard. But I did have, like, a wall, you know, the one year. And what I did is I looked for, pictures of fan art online, and I had the one wall at the start of the year, and then in the middle of the year, I actually printed out more pictures on the school printer. So at the end of the year, I actually had a better wall. The computers are two different colors because at the beginning of the year, I started out with my pink netbook that I got when I started school, but it wouldn't run a virtual machine on it, which I really needed to do for class, so my parents got me the black one that I still have. That thing's 8 years old. I really need a new one, but I just got a new computer, so. And I put magazines there because, I brought the one issue of Nintendo Power that had Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance on the cover of it, and that was what really got me into that series, and that happened while I was living in this hall. So anyway, we are done with Douglas, and now we're going to move on to the next one. So I decided to move into this hall pretty much because, my friend was going to live there, and I was debating about, where to go, if I wanted to go on the flirt floor, if I wanted to go, somewhere else, and I saw that she said that she was going to live over in this hall, and this hall was like right, down the street from the building where my classes were, and so I was looking in the room selection, and I thought about maybe possibly being my friend's roommate, but I don't think that was available. Somebody else had already taken that slot, and I thought about maybe being on her floor, but then I looked and I saw that there was one room that was left that was a double room that was contracted as a single. So I took the opportunity and I took that. So that's the room I pretty much stayed in for the next 2 years. And this residence hall was newly renovated. And here I'm putting up, I had jewelry hanging from here because at that time I wore a lot of jewelry. I don't really wear it all that much anymore, but at that time I did. So I wanted a place to hang it, so I had to use something to represent that. But anyway, when we first got into the residence hall, they basically said, the pain is trying to cure, so don't hang anything on the walls. And that was just really kind of disappointing. And at one point, I think 2 weeks later, I looked it up, and it said that it takes 2 weeks for pain to cure, but they were saying that we couldn't hang stuff on the walls for the whole year, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? So I said something on their Facebook page, and they're like, you know what, you're right, and so they let us hang stuff on the walls, and there I'm sticking the little Bella Goth poster because I did do a lot of that Fateful Night drawings in this room. So I did have a few things, eventually hanging from the walls. I had my name, I had a bunch of sorority paddles, which I'm not going to get into that whole experience because, well, that would involve doing things I've sworn I would never do. And I'm not going to be that loser that doesn't keep her word. This room was actually laid out kind of differently than the other one, because instead of bunk beds, there were just 2 beds in the room, and I kind of wanted to loft it a little bit, but I just never really wanted to bother with calling the work request office and all of that stuff. Although I did call it once when the door broke and it smelled and it didn't, they didn't fix it forever, but so I'm basically putting a bunch of things on the bed, or I will be putting a bunch of things on the bed, because, one bed I used as a bed, and the other bed I pretty much, it was a couch. I had a bunch of pillows on it, I had all the drawing stuff for That Fateful Night drawings, I had a bunch of plushies on it, there was another Pikachu, there was a little plush penguin I found when we were Christmas shopping at Toys R Us the one year, I saw the commercial for these hideaway pets, and I thought the bunny was just so adorable. I had to get one. And so the funny thing is that I thought I was getting a mother and a baby, and I ended up with a mother and twins, and it was because my mom, who placed the order, thought that I wasn't going to get the baby with the mother, so she ordered another baby. So that was just really cute that I had in the room. It's actually right now sitting on top of my bookshelf in my room. That's pretty much where all my plushies went after graduation, except I put that bookshelf in there in 2017. So I don't know, I think they were in a bag for a while, and then I pulled them out and put them on that bookshelf in my room. But this room was completely mine. I could do whatever I wanted to it. Well, not whatever I wanted, but you guys get the point. I mean, the previous room that I had when I had it to myself, I couldn't do anything or put anything on the other side because it hadn't been contracted out as a single. And so, there might have been a point where somebody actually would have been housed there. So I couldn't put my stuff there in case they needed to move somebody there. But this room, I had contracted it out as a single. So I could put stuff on both sides of the room, which I did. And I don't think I had exactly the same stuff decorating this room as I had the other one, because, I lived in this room for 2 years, but I don't know, I think I kind of like changed up the decorations a little bit. Like I didn't really want some of this stuff anymore. I don't exactly remember what happened. And living on the opposite side of campus from all the other residence halls was really interesting as well, because it took that much longer to go to flirt dinners, so I didn't go to them nearly as often. Well, at least I did in the fall semester, the first fall semester I was here, but after that, you know, everybody in the group went to study abroad in Japan, so I didn't go the spring semester of the first year I was there because nobody else was there. But I did get to go to Newhall on weekends and get their pasta bar, and sometimes on, you know, like Mondays or Wednesdays to get their Alfredo, which, oh my goodness, I miss that Alfredo. I miss that Alfredo so much. But, you know, when we would go on our little retreats for the flirt program, which I only did the years I was living in this particular room, they would leave from the other hall. So I had to walk all the way across campus with my camping stuff, my sleeping bag, like everything. And oh, it was raining the one time when I was walking back. I kind of wanted to experience going on that retreat with my one friend, but she didn't actually do it the times I did it because she wasn't taking the program for credit anymore. So anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane with me. If you did, I would really appreciate you leaving a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more, and don't forget to follow me on social media if you want to see sneak peeks, behind the scenes, fun things like that. Go and follow me on Instagram at VisitJoan, and if you want to see my thoughts on Sims-related stuff and know when videos are out and stuff like that, be sure to follow me on Twitter at VisitJoanVideos. But anyway, I'm going to get up out of here now. Bye, everybody!